Hi, everybody. I'm Eric. Over there is Tiffany, maybe. Down there is E-Rock, and over there is Steven. I probably pointed at all the wrong people. We are Just Got Played, and today we are reviewing Viticulture by Stonemaier Games. And E-Rock, I think maybe there, I don't know, somewhere, is going to explain how to play Viticulture. I guess just more of an overview of Viticulture. So, see you on the flip side.
This is Viticulture Essential Edition. This is a game about growing grapes, making wine, and then selling that wine for victory points and sometimes a little passive money. This is the main game board. Everybody also has their own personal game board. The game is divided into 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. In spring, you use your rooster to choose where you're going in the turn order. These are your summer actions. These are your winter actions. And fall, you just draw a card or 2. You'll see that when you begin the game, you start with 2 workers of this size and 1 worker of that size. The spaces on the board, the action spaces, have different number of spaces depending on the number of players. 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. The workers can go into these spaces until it is full up for your player count, and then they can't go in there anymore, which is what the Grande is good for, because for all other purposes, he acts like any other worker, but you can put him somewhere that is already full and still take that action there. You have a score down here at the bottom. Everybody starts here. You can go negative. This is your residual tracker. As I said, it was a way of making passive money. But I don't want to talk about this board. Instead, I want to talk about this board. Now, all the spots on the main board are going to be where you can accomplish all the actions that I'm about to show you, but they're very simple worker placement spots. You put a worker in a spot, you harvest a field. You put a worker in a spot, you make some wine. But none of that's going to make any sense if you don't understand how this whole process works. So the general idea here is that you have these vine cards, and then you can plant them in your fields. You see, I have 3 fields here, value 5, 6, and 7. That is both how much they're worth if I were to sell them and how much value of grape I can put in there. So as an example, I pull these 2 cards. It's a 1 and a 1 and a 1. They all add up to 3. They can fit in there. So I can plant those in that field. Later on, that leaves room for a 2, which is, I can just add to that, and it all adds up to 5, and I'm good. So when I harvest the field, you add all the numbers of the same color together to get the grape. So this is a 1 and a 1 white, it becomes a 2 white. And that's a 1 red, becomes a 1 red. And then you would continue to do this as you go, building these up, making higher value grapes, which you turn into wine. And eventually you're going to end up with different things going on here. Now your grapes and your wine are going to age at the end of every round. And to make the wine then, it's a very simple process for the whites and the reds. They just become what they are. So this is a 1 red grape becomes a 1 red wine. A 2 white grape becomes a 2 white wine. You can see that there's a little chart down here in the bottom, and that's for making blushes and sparklings. You combine one of each color to make a blush and add their numbers together. So if I put a 5 and a 2, 5 red, 2 white together, that makes a 7 blush. And in order to make a sparkling, it's 2 reds and 1 white. So in theory, I have a 1 and a 3 is 4, and 4 is 8. That becomes an 8 sparkling. And that's how you make the wine. You keep repeating this process. You will be turning in these order cards, which are going to tell you specifically what kinds of wine you need to turn them in. They're going to give you victory points and potentially residuals, which, as I said, was passive income. There's all these buildings over here, which you can put in various places to do very specific things, such as allow you to make certain kinds of wine, or, well, grapes, or expand your cellar, and many other things. That's basically everything. When somebody hits 20 points, the game will end at the end of that round, and whoever has the most points then wins the game. And that is Viticulture.
Well, welcome back from that. So, you know what? Let's start with Tiffany. Tiffany, can you tell us what your like of Viticulture was?
You'd be happy to. So my like for Viticulture is as Eric just talked about, there's a really cool mechanic in there where you harvest your grapes and you put the grapes in your, I don't know, barrels or whatever, and then you can age the grapes, and then when you convert your grapes into your different bottles, you pick, if you're making blush, you do a red and a white. If you're making, it's not champagne, but
sparkling.
They're sparkly. Yeah, so they're bubbly, whatever their version is. You use a different combination. And I've never really seen that before, where you can manipulate your basic goods to become different goods. And I like that. I felt like it was a lot of fun playing around with that. When you're drawing those goal cards, you can kind of pick your direction that you want to go and plan ahead a little bit. And I feel like it gives you more options. You don't get necessarily stuck in one direction unless you don't have any red or you don't have any white grapes, and then you're kind of stuck. But I thought that was really cool. That was neat.
Agreed. Yeah, those are really good points. Steven, how about you go next? What was your like?
Yeah, sure. So just to clarify real quick, I have only played Viticulture Essential Edition one time because the majority of my plays, I've played several other times, have been with Tuscany, so that may color a little bit what I'm saying here. But so it's a worker placement game, and usually when I'm playing a worker placement game, you want to rush out and get all the workers that are available to you. It's very important to have all those workers available. You're going to lose if you don't get all your workers in play. But what I like about Viticulture is I don't think that's true. Right? You play the game and you start with 3, but your strategy might allow you to get by with 4. Usually I think I have 5 at the end of the game. I'm not sure I've ever even gotten the 6th worker that I'm entitled to. And so I like that it's not just, this is the thing you have to do, go get these workers, right? And that's even when I'm playing with the special workers too, that I'm saying that, which comes in the expansion. But I just like that there's sort of an intelligent choice there. There are different strategies, and you don't have to go the give me my max workers route. And most worker placement games don't seem to work like that. So I appreciate that here.
I agree with you. Yeah. I don't think I've ever bought all of the workers in any time that I've played Viticulture. And I mean, I'm not saying I win, but I don't lose horribly either. So.
Yeah, no, definitely excellent. It's expensive almost. I feel like early on, it almost hurts to go to that worker space because you've only got 3 to start with, so it's better to kind of optimize early.
Yeah, and money is tight in the game early on, and the workers cost money, so yeah.
So, Erock, or other Eric, tell us, what was your like?
All right, so my like is the Grande. All right, so I'm going to get there kind of a roundabout way. So what I really like about the game is that you can play it either tactically or strategically. All right, so there's a lot of card drawing in there. So you could play tactically and just draw a bunch of cards, see what happens. But you can also play strategically by just getting like one hand of cards and building towards that. All right, and in order to do that, you have to do specific things sometimes. Now, in a lot of worker placement games, you're going to get blocked out. All right. And I'm not saying you're never going to get blocked out in here, but with the Grande, you get to do that one thing you need to do, no matter what. And I think that allows you to play this game as either a tactical game or a strategic game. And it really shines, in my opinion, for that.
Yeah, no, and I will kind of riff on that a little bit. I think the Grande is an excellent addition to what I was going to say, and that I think that the game is incredibly easy to teach to people, and it's friendly for newer players too. Things like the Grande worker, makes it a little bit more friendly without it being everybody playing multiplayer solitaire kind of thing. Everybody gets to you get that feeling of the worker placement game, but you don't get completely screwed because you just made a horrible mistake since it's your first game. But yeah, I think it's really easy to teach, and I think some of that's also a thematic thing. I know the theme isn't everybody's thing, but that concept of planting seeds, harvesting them, putting them in your little grape crushers, and letting them kind of sit in there, moving them to your cellars, converting them to wine, and then selling them makes sense. I mean, it's thematically easy to follow. You get it. So yeah, that's my game.
I agree with you there. And I also think that it's relatable. I think there's a lot of people in the world that drink wine, so they can relate to this process of growing grapes, turning it into juice, aging it over time, and then drinking the wine. So I agree with you.
And the seasons work well with that too. Yeah. Just bringing that whole theme again together and making it cohesive.
Well, since I'm running this thing, we're going to snake draft it, and I'm going to say that I'm going to go ahead and do my dislikes, or dislike, I guess. So my dislike will actually kind of follow suit onto one of the things that I liked about it, in that it is easier to teach, and it is I think it's a less complex worker placement game. And I think that can lend itself, especially with more experienced gamers, to a little bit of analysis paralysis. That ability, especially when you have so few workers really early on, being able to see what other players are doing on their boards and go, all right, I've got 3 workers. I have to plan these out for seasons. I need to do this, and I need to do that, and then I need to do that. So I have this Grande. He's doing that. Steven's crushing grapes this time. He's going to deliver orders. So it's kind of easy to math it out, and it's really easy to get caught up in doing that. Now, I do think the Grande helps alleviate that a little bit because you don't have to stress quite so much about it. But it could definitely be a problem in a game. I mean, and even with some of the people that I've played with before that are newer players, they can even get a little caught up in the AP on it. So,
yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'm jumping on your bandwagon. To me, the AP kind of drives me crazy in this, and I'm just going to say it. I'm the guy that's always ready to go. All right. I'm like, I do this, and then I sit around and I wait for everybody to figure out. I'm like, just grow the grapes, make some wine, sell the wine. That's all there is. Okay. So I am completely with you. The AP drives me crazy because it's not me.
I feel really attacked right now. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm just saying, we've played games with 6 people many times. Okay.
Yeah.
So
he didn't name names.
that's true. I don't name names.
So is that your dislike, E-Rock?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
All right.
riding along with you. Shotgun.
So, Steven, give us your dislike.
So, you mentioned how everything in this game works thematically really well, right? Seasons, grapes, wine, orders, etc. And I agree, and I get that. It is a very good thematic take on making wine. I don't care about making wine, right? So I remember when this game was on Kickstarter way back in 2012. This was the first Stonemaier game, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, they're really into making wine. So, okay, whatever. And I didn't back it, even though I backed a lot of games back then. And, I just sort of let it go. And then it wasn't until a lot of people started saying like, no, this is a good game. This is a really solid worker placement game. Like this is a great experience. And then and then I played it and I got my own copy and, something about the theme doesn't make me want to play the game. And now, here we are 9 years later, and I find different themes sort of refreshing because we see a lot of themes over and
Same
over.
thing.
So, I have a little more respect for the theme now. But still, what it boils down to it's like, hey, what do you want to do today? Do you want to roll up a D&D character or be a pirate or grow some grapes? All right, whatever,
For what it's worth, Steve, I
That's
agree
fair.
with you. I couldn't care less about growing this stuff either.
Yeah.
I'm not a wine person.
person.
But I just appreciate that a lot of people are. So I can see where the broad appeal is in that. But yeah, I don't care either.
Yeah, and if somebody at the table is a big wine person, like bring this out, great, because I'll play it. 'Cause it's fun. But
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tiffany, finishes off. What was your
All right.
dislike?
So I'm going to be a little contrary here. Don't get me wrong. I love using the Grande because I don't ever get blocked out of anything for realsies because you always have that as your backup. But even as much as I am a Care Bear, and I am a huge Care Bear, there's something satisfying about taking that last spot when you're going and you fill up the last spot and in a worker placement, you're like, yes, I got there just in time. And now nobody else can do that thing. There's, and so it's a little, that's always a little feather in your cap. But with this game, people can just go there with their Grande and it's not as, I don't know, enjoyable taking the last
Satisfying
spot.
being
Yeah, it's
like
just
that.
satisfying because I
indeed.
can't totally screw everybody else out of everything. So, but I still like to use the Grande. I don't like being blocked out myself.
the original Viticulture did not have the Grande in it. That was a later
I
edition.
did not know that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. That it was like the second edition was one of the editions was the Grande, and
They were like, it's too mean.
yeah, I have to disagree with Tiffany here because I feel like this game I'm always getting blocked out of stuff. It's always super tight when we're playing, and the AP would just be that much more if you didn't have your Grande, right? Because you'd have to
Yeah, I
math
agree.
everything out. But at some
And
point
then
you could
you'd
just
have to
stop and say, Like
Like
when,
switch it up, you know.
yeah, but you could just stop and say, well, okay, I'll get blocked out of something, a big deal. I've got my grande, right? So you don't have to
Yeah.
do the whole tree of actions in your head about what everybody's going to do and the order you need to do them in. You could just sort of think about it a little and then make your move.
It's just not a pure worker placement if you don't get that joy of.
Look at her. She's
totally
trying to look
screwing
all
them.
sweet. She's so mean.
I think there's enough of that in this game, even with the grande, I guess is my point. And again, maybe that's because I'm thinking more Tuscany, which has 4 seasons
such
that
a
you
care
do workers
bear.
in, but yeah.
I'm such a care bear. I don't want to block. I want to block everybody out of their space.
You don't intentionally go places just to block people, but it's a nice little bonus.
Since I'm going there anyway.
Added benefit,
Well, I mean, if you get
I
those
have
extra
murdered
workers-
you.
Yeah, if you get those extra workers, you could go to places just to block
Block everybody.
just for fun.
I'm gonna take 2 coins over and over.
Bear. Oh.
Well, that was Viticulture. I'm Eric. That's Eric. And that's Steven. And that's Tiffany. I got one of you guys right, I'm sure.
No.
And we are Just Got Played. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye, go drink some wine, everybody. As long as
Yeah.
you're 21 or older, if you're in the United States. Disclaimer, lawyer, I'm not
Throw
a
some
lawyer,
grapes.
not an expert.
Stomp on 'em.